what are our young professionals doing? I think we touched upon there is the Gen X and Gen Y, and that's moving into the millennials. But actually, things have changed. So I'm representing a much a younger organization, and the way we outlook at things. So we're like a typical .com. People love to work for us, not because there is excitement, but because they feel a part of the entire ecosystem, and that's the major difference. Now let's look at various elements of how we look at people and how we look at employees and how we look at really profiling them. Right? That's one of the key parts. So I'm going to context for everything. The first part is there is enough young professionals today, but it will be interesting. Actually, most of them today prefer to apply through LinkedIn, and in the US already it started happening. 53% of all HR applications are happening through LinkedIn, and almost 99% of them are happening through the mobile app of LinkedIn. Right. The second part is that when they apply, don't worry, they'll check on your site if you have a similar post available, and if that post is updated. Right, and there's an interaction happening from these younger generations, and I'm actually going beyond millennials out here, and I'm saying people who are between 21 and 28. We are focusing more on that TG who's much younger, who's more acceptable to online, etc. The second part, 73% of this customer base today uses a mobile phone for his transaction. Actually doesn't do it on a traditional line. So how many of you actually shop or pay your bills using a desktop computer? Any of you actually uses a laptop or a laptop to buy things? Right? Most of us will still do, but if you go a little younger, they don't know how to use the laptop very well. They're like, a laptop is made for office use. I'll work on it to write my code or to do my office mails. Everything else on the smartphone, right? And they're getting used to that. If you look at the mobile wallets which is existing in India, they make more transactions every year than the entire banking industry. Right. So the switches on the banking industry report 70 crore transaction. Last year they did 73 crore transaction on the mobile phone itself. So it's really saying an average customer is doing 12 transactions a month on a smartphone. Right. Another example, I think it's very interesting, that 71% of them prefer to buy a car than buy a house. Now I know they're seeing a lot of property boom happening, but look at their mindset. Now I have a few examples which are very exciting. One, how many of you believe that you can actually go out and try that Kali Pili taxi anymore? How many of you try the Kali Pili taxi? I have not gone on that route at all for the last 1 year. It's all Uber, it's all Ola. The biggest one is Ola Auto, right? Even those have gone, they're disappearing. I live in Pune, so I come quite often to Bombay, and I don't mind using a blah blah service. It's funny. The last time I came with one of the bank's CTOs. He was driving the car. We had one gentleman who was doing another startup. There was one gentleman who was the HR head of a company, and we were 4 traveling in a self-driven car by the IT head of this IT company. And none of us knew each other. We just agreed to pay 450 rupees each to travel together. It was much cheaper, but it wasn't that we were young people traveling. We could all afford our own whichever car we were to come by with. We just said it's easier, it's better, I don't mind sharing my ride. But that's the new ecosystem getting created. I was looking at a friend of mine who runs a platform, his flatmate. I was surprised to see his volume. All of us have these young employees who move from one town to another town. They're not going to afford a whole house. They want to share a bed, they want to share a house, and they don't know how to get into that city. So these guys started getting volumes like 40,000 requests a week. Right. That changes the ecosystem of any of the traditional way of getting a housing. Right. Now look at platforms like Rent-O-Mojo. Right. No one is buying, people are renting, and they're not small. If they're able to do 500-600 homes a day, they're moving fast, and it's also going to catch up really fast to the habits of the young professional. Another interesting one is that I would say someone who's a Gen Y versus a millennium actually ends up eating 13 times more out, right? And that's a huge changeover. And if you come down to the age less than 28, it actually doubles. he's actually eating out once in 2 days at least, and that is a huge changeover happening. Now I think all of us know about Zomato because we all go for reviews, but how many of you tried Palatable? That's the next version of it, where you say, okay, I'm going to eat, I don't like to eat alone, can people join me, right? And is that small? No. Download the app. I'm telling you, in your geo coordinated location of 2 pin codes, you'll get 15 requests a day. That's not a small number. Now these are happening today and they are not something new.